Hello everyone, I'm Thibault Lutelier and I'm going to present our work CoCoNuT, combining context-aware neural translation models using Ensemble for program repair. This work was done in collaboration with Hank Pham, Lawrence Peng, Yitong Li and Moshi Wei from the University of Waterloo, as well as our supervisor, Professor Lin Tan from Purdue University. Manually fixing bugs is an expensive process and developers spend most of their time fixing them. As of July 1st, 2020, there were more than 17,000 opened issues in Chromium. Therefore, automation will help fixing more bugs. Traditional automatic program repair techniques often use a generate and validate approach. Given a buggy code location, existing techniques build a search space using operator mutations or manually defined templates, then rank and select patches using some heuristics. Finally, each patch is validated against the test suite. If a patch passes all the test cases, it is considered plausible and the process stops. Otherwise, it is discarded and removed to the next patch. This approach has two main issues. First, a previous study found that the search page often does not contain the correct patch. In addition, hard-coded templates need to be adapted to work with different programming languages, which require significant manual effort. To address these challenges, neural machine translation is a natural approach to try. It is a deep learning approach commonly used in natural language. For example, given a sentence in French, the neural machine translation model will translate it into a semantically equivalent sentence in English. Our idea is that instead of translating French to English, we translate a buggy piece of code to a correct piece of code. Compared to traditional approaches, a neural machine translation has the following two advantages. First, the fixed patterns are automatically discovered from a large training set. Therefore, the model can fix bugs existing approach cannot, despite years of research on manually defined patterns. Second, the neural machine translation architecture is not language dependent, so it can be adapted to different programming languages without much effort. Therefore, we propose CoCoNuT, a technique that uses a new context-aware neural machine translation architecture. We use an ensemble approach to combine such architecture to automatically generate fixes for diverse bugs. CoCoNuT is the first approach to fix bugs in 4 different programming languages, including 309 bugs that had not been fixed before, automatically. Here is an example of bugs only CoCoNuT can fix in the popular Defects4J benchmark. This bug is a real bug from the Mockito project. The line starting with a minus is a buggy line, while the line starting with a plus is a correct fix generated by CoCoNuT. This bug cannot be fixed by previous work, because researchers and practitioners did not manually find the pattern, update error type. CoCoNuT can fix this bug because it infers these new patterns from millions of training samples mined from open source projects. This is another bug CoCoNuT can fix. Notice that in this case, a buggy location with a red background does not contain enough information to fix the bugs, as a variable type parameter and actual type argument in the correct fix do not appear in the buggy line. CoCoNuT uses a new context-aware deep learning architecture that represents the context of the bug and can automatically generate a complete patch extracting meaningful information from the context of the bug, such as, in this case, the correct variable names to use. While neural machine translation presents several advantages, there are also many challenges applying it to automatically fix bugs. In this talk, I'm going to talk about 3 of them. First, we'll see how we select and represent the context of a bug. Second, we will explain how CoCoNuT can capture the diversity of bug fixes. And finally, we'll discuss the choice of neural machine translation architecture. These are 2 examples of bugs that have the same buggy line return null. The correct fix is however different, and it is therefore difficult for the model to generate the correct fix without further information. In practice, such information can be obtained by looking at the surrounding code. Therefore, we decide to use the entire function surrounding the buggy line, as context for our model. In natural language, neural machine translation takes a sentence as input, feed it to an encoder, and then a decoder generates an equivalent sentence in another language. As we just showed, applying this principle directly to program repair does not work. because the buggy line does not contain enough information to generate a fixed line. Naively, we can feed both the buggy line and its context to the encoder. However, in practice it does not work well because the larger context overwhelms the buggy line. We address this problem by proposing a new architecture that uses two separated encoders for the buggy line and the context line. The merger layers ensure that both buggy and context encoding are treated equally, even if the buggy line is much smaller than the context. The second challenge is to capture the diversity of bug fixes. There are many different types of bugs and they have different fix patterns. For example, a buffer overflow is very different from an error handling bug. It is therefore difficult for one unique model to learn all these different fix patterns. Our solution is to train multiple models with different complexity that will capture different features and therefore fix different bugs. Then we use Ensemble to combine them into one technique that can fix all these bugs. The last challenge concerns the choice of deep learning architecture. Recurrent neural networks such as LSTM are very common in natural language because they represent the input as sequences and read it linearly, which is similar to how people read, for example, an English sentence. However, source code is generally not read linearly. Instead, developers read source code jumping from one location to another, looking at it at different levels of granularity. This is better represented using convolutional layers. So this is an overview of our model's architecture. We have the input on the left and the other modules on the right. Here we will focus on the encoder to explain at a high level why CNN layers are better than RNNs for our context. So in this example, the first convolutional layer has a small kernel size that will encode relation between closely related tokens, for example start and calendar. This represents information at a low level. However, we have other layers that have a larger kernel size and that encode relations between more distant tokens. This allows to represent the code at different levels of granularities much more easily than it would be with an RNN layer. I will now present the overview of our approach. First, in the training stage, we extract data from commits from open source repositories in the following format: buggy line in red, fixed line in blue, and context line in purple. Then we tokenize these lines and tune many different models with different complexities for one epoch. Then we select the top K models that we will retrain further until convergence. The inference stage represents how a user would use CoCoNuT. Given a buggy line and its context, CoCoNuT will tokenize it and then feed it to the top K models. The outputs of these models will be therefore then combined and ranked. Then the candidate patches will be validated against the test suite. The patches that pass all the test suites are considered plausible patches. We evaluated CoCoNuT on 6 different benchmarks in 4 different programming languages, including Defect4J, the most popular bug repair benchmark that had been used to test 22 other tools. For evaluation purpose, we consider a patch as correctly fixed if it is semantically equivalent to the developer's patch. CoCoNuT is the first technique to fix bugs in 4 different programming languages. It is the best technique for 4 out of 6 benchmarks and can fix 509 bugs, including 309 that had not been fixed before. In Defect4J in particular, CoCoNuT is the third technique, but the 2 best techniques uses manually generated fix patterns that rely on decades of research. Furthermore, CoCoNuT can fix 6 new bugs that none of the other tools tested on Defect4J can fix. To understand the impact of each element we used, we performed an ablation study on Defect4J. Overall, we found that each element of our technique, using CNN layer or context representation and using Ensemble, have a positive impact on the results, and you can see the details in our paper. So in conclusion, in this talk I presented CoCoNuT, a new automatic program repair technique that uses Ensemble to combine new CNN context-aware neural machine translation architecture. CoCoNuT fixes 509 bugs in 4 different programming languages, including 309 that have not been fixed before. Thank you for your time.